prior to this, okay, in our first two projects, we looked at two different methods of defining the way that forms come together. So in one particular scenario, the first project, we learned about subtracting from an object to help define it, right? And our subtractions were actually used to create these kind of either entry or porch-like spaces that were adjacent to the main space of the object. Correct? So this was a subtractive process. Right? Then we also took and brought forms together. So we took a cube, right, and we embedded a second cube onto it. And so this was an additive way of doing things. All right? So this is additive. Right? We used words like aggregation as well as collision to further kind of explain it. But essentially it was adding pieces together versus subtracting pieces together. Okay? So I want you to think of these two things, right, as I start to talk to you guys about the next sort of thing that you can do in your projects. So I'm going to go ahead and erase these so that I can talk to you more about additional things. So you guys are all going to be asked to think about, in the design of this project, the approach to a building as well as the entrance to the building. What I want you guys to understand is that this idea of approaching a building and the thing that demarcates the entrance, okay, are linked. They're not exactly the same, but they are linked. Okay? The building element that sort of signals that you might enter here can be thought of as the entry, right? Or the entry statement, or the, you know, the entry element. The path, right? And what happens along the path to the entrance is the approach. The entry statement or entry element is what draws you along the path, which is the approach, to the building. That make sense? So you guys are going to be given a choice of 3 different ways of defining entry to your building. Okay? So here they are. The first way is what we kind of called Jonah and the whale. So in the idea of Jonah and the whale, right, this whale sort of swallows Jonah. If you want to think of it more in terms of like Pinocchio, right, it was Monstro that swallowed him, and Geppetto, right? If you think about this building, you can think of this open part of the tube as being the whale's mouth. I don't have a better term for it. We probably can come up with a better term for it, right? But yes, the other day, Mitchell and I were tossing sort of things back and forth, and we sort of came up with that, to where if this is the building kind of in section, right, and there's a glass wall here, and a glass wall here, then this sort of open mouth, this open part of the building, becomes the whale's mouth. Okay? So that is one way you guys can articulate and define the entry statement of the building. Okay? A second way that you guys can define that, and I'm going to draw this now, this is in section, so a person might be there. This is in 3D, so a person could be standing sort of here, right? Second way, I'm going to draw this in plan view. Say this is the shape of the building that I've defined. Right? So if I were to create a subtraction on that building, I would still leave the overhanging element there, because what I would be doing is just doing a subtractive cut, right? This also, that subtracted area, just like it did in your cube, can define the entry statement of the building. Okay? So this is, we'll call this a subtractive entry. Okay? And then the third one is going to be the additive entry. And that is where you have this piece that's been kind of created here. You have this design for this object, right? And what you're going to do is you're going to create a canopy, right? Like we did, remember what the first project we did? We kind of created this canopy. You're going to create this canopy piece that might attach to the building, and then maybe it folds down. Okay? Then your entry doors could go in this wall here or something like that. Does that make sense? So this is an additive approach to creating entry statement. This is a subtractive approach to creating entry statement. This is using the building's form, right? That big whale's mouth, this thing, to create the entry statement. Okay? So that's your three options, and it's going to be sort of up to you to decide which one of these you want to use. And part of that's going to be based on how you position your building on the site. Okay? I mean, obviously, if you're going to do a subtractive entry, right, that subtraction has to face out towards that parking lot, right, and the drop-off zone. If you're going to do the whale's mouth, same thing. You want to be able to create a simple approach path to the whale's mouth. And if you're going to create this added sort of canopy, right, that attaches to the building, that too needs to face towards the people that are arriving. It should be on the entry path. Okay? All right, so do you want to stop that video?